Welcome to the Sun River Anglers Fly Tying Corner for this month. We're going to tie an October Caddis Stimulator. This is a great imitation for the biggest caddis fly in the fall. I love fishing these and plopping down this imitation along the banks of the Deschutes River and flipping and skating it into the rise form of a wary trout. This is a super pattern for this bug at this time of year, and I think you'll enjoy tying it. The October Caddis is a big bug, probably an honest size 8, and you'll see from the picture kind of a bright orange color on the underside of this fly that gives it its nickname, the Great Pumpkin of Western Rivers. Let's review the materials list. For a hook, we're going to use a Tiemco 200R or 2312 in size 8 or 10. For the thread, we're going to use Ultra thread, 210 denier in fluorescent red. For the tail, we've got dark dyed elk in burnt orange. For the abdomen, I'm going to use Spirit River UV2 Scud Shrimp Golden Stone. For the abdomen hackle, I've got a whiting dry fly saddle in dark dun, and I ribbed that with copper wire. For the underwing, I've got olive crystal flash. For the overwing, I've got dark dyed elk in burnt orange. For the thorax dubbing, I'm going to use Spirit River Bright Blend Polar Orange. For the thorax hackle, I'm going to use dark brown whiting dry fly hackle. Okay, so let's get started by tying on the thread right at the 2/3 point of the hook. This is right at the front of the abdomen and also where we'll lay the wing later in the fly, so it's really critical to get this spot set correctly. Okay, let's get started with the tail. I've cut a bunch of my dyed elk, and I'm going to proportion it on the hook, and I'm going to clip the butts off right at the 2/3 point of the hook. And I'll go ahead and lay them back on. I'll take a wrap over, and I'm going to wind this all the way back to the tail set position. And I'll tie that off with a couple good solid wraps, and then come one underneath the tail. And then I want to kind of drive the thread forward and cross over all the butts. Next, I'm going to grab my piece of copper wire and I'm going to tie that in right at the abdomen and tie it all the way back to the tail set position. Okay, I've taken some dubbing mix. This is my golden stone dubbing, and I'm going to twist it onto the thread. I'm going to pinch it onto the thread, and I'll bring up just a little bit up to the hook, and I'll wind it on just to catch a few fibers, and then I'll continue winding that around the thread, much like spinning yarn. I'm basically creating a yarn out of this dubbing, and I'll hold on to the butt end of it, and I'll start winding around the fly and over the thorax and all the way up to the wing set position. So I've taken one of my dark dun hackles and I've prepared it by stripping a few of the barbs off, and I'm going to attach that right at the wing set, and I'm going to wind it back all the way to the tail set position, right over the abdomen dubbing. Finish up with one wrap right at the tail, and then I'm going to follow the hackle around with my copper wire and actually tie this hackle off with copper wire. And I'm going to weave forward and rib the hackle with the copper wire. You notice I'm weaving it forward, and then I'll tie that off right at the wing set position. And clip off the excess. So in anticipation of the wing, I'm going to clip bunch of the hackle fibers on the top of the fly. This will get them out of the way where I'm going to lay that wing in. Okay, so I've clipped off a bunch of crystal flash, and I'm going to tie that in right behind the head. And we'll tie that right back to the wing set position. Pinch it down nice and tight, and I'm going to clip it off about half the length of the tail. Just a nice underwing being formed here. And I'll stack another bunch of my elk hair. And I'll pre-proportion it, and then I'm going to clip off the butts. You notice the crystal flash extends just about to the color change of that elk hair. So I'll tie that on again right at the same place, right on the head area, and I'm going to tie that back with a couple wraps. Looks like I caught a little bit of crystal flash, so I'm going to just pull that back up and around. Just push that back in place and tie it off. Do a little pruning and a little cleanup and tie off some of those butts. Again, a little house cleaning. I caught a few of the barbs of the hackle with the thread. Now I've prepared the brown hackle by stripping off some barbs, and I'm going to tie it in right ahead of the wing. So now let's start with our thorax dubbing, and following what I did on the abdomen, I'll spin a yarn of the orange dubbing, and I'm going to wrap it right up against the wing and wind it forward all the way through the thorax area. And now I'm going to tie off the hackle dry fly style, shiny side back and the dull side forward, and I'll wrap about 4 wraps of the hackle right up to the head position. Probably should have used hackle pliers, but I skimped on that and use my fingers instead. So I'll tie that off and clip off the excess. Clean up that head just a little bit and tie that off nicely. And then I'll drop right into a whip finish, and I'll tie that off with about 3 or 4 or 5 wraps. And I'll give it a good tight snug. Got one barb cut, so I'll clip that out. So that's our finished fly. You can use a little head cement if you wish, although I don't know that it's necessary. Let me rotate this fly around in the vise so you can get a sense of what it looks like on all sides. Again, this is a great October Caddis pattern, and one that's been really successful catching a number of trout over time. Give it a try. This has been the Sun River Anglers Fly Tying Corner for this month. Thanks for watching.